removed from it. So
That will work. That template will.
if you want to do a private sector driven type, it has to be in the consultancy level, not in the actual revenue collection. I mean, maybe consultancy level intensive of putting on structure, training of your staff to make sure they are able to collect those revenue at when due. But now, totally giving it, like I said, it's all federal inland revenue. There's a constitutional aspect of that in play compared to what the state governor can give an order in Lagos State. Maybe unless the president will give an executive order for private sector to begin to collect revenue on behalf of the federal. People feel that they are paying what the government paid them is almost as the same as what they are collecting. So I don't think it makes sense to do that. But I think what we need to do is to come up with a structure and let have the policy. The federal inland revenue is under the control of the Ministry of Finance, and I'm saying they should be able, if custom are not using external agency to collect their revenue, why should federal inland revenue be thinking of that? So I think it's all about having the political will to do the right thing. And like I said, this present administration also have a special advisor on revenue. So what is he really doing? What structure is he putting in place? Has he been able to achieve that single revenue drive whereby every revenue finds its way into government? That's why we have the TSA. We seem to forget about the TSA singles, the single currency account that government created. And that was said to be one of the most transparent way of government collecting revenue. But again, when you look at that TSA, you realize that these cash cows that we are complaining about are not members of it. They are not part of the TSA. Maybe that's the problem. So we need to work on that. We need to come up with a structure.
Encourage redundancy. If the ministry is not doing anything, we shouldn't be thinking about whether there are staff that are not doing anything, because while they are doing something, we are not even seeing anything coming to the coffers. So, but this problem we're talking about, are we talking about the inability to collect these taxes, or the unavailability of transparency enough for us to see that this revenue that has been collected goes to the coffers of the government? Because it seems as if the money is being collected, but we are not seeing it as we should see it. So should we be talking about, or should we be blaming it on the training or the capacity of the personnel, or we should be blaming it on something else that is making it foggy for us not to be able to see where this money is going instead?
I don't think it's about capacity. I think it's about transparency. You've hit the nail. It's about transparency. It's not that this, like you said, not that this revenue is not being collected. But again, how transparent are we in terms of distribution of this revenue? We are not looking at revenue shortfall in terms of collection. We are looking at revenue shortfall in terms of distribution. So it shows that it's not just the capacity to receive, it's the ability to also distribute that as when due. And that has to do with structure. That has to do with maybe a lot of administrative bottlenecks that have been put in some of these issues, like we have said before. There's a lot of administrative challenges when it comes to issues like this. Administrative bottleneck, maybe you need to get approval from the presidency, like I said, and the minister for petroleum is the president. He has to approve all the revenue made. It's also, they don't telling us what is happening, and that is why, like I keep saying, the president said he have a minister for revenue, that is a special advisor on revenue, that is supposed to make sure that all revenue collecting agency of government are put under one umbrella. Remember that all revenue should be remitted directly into the federation account domiciled with the Central Bank of Nigeria. That was the core mandate of this administration. But don't forget, it's not about confusion everywhere, and I think it's all about structure and the political will to put in the right structure in place to make sure we achieve the desired result. I think we have not seen any from any administration yet. Hopefully, as this administration goes on, they may begin to think of that.
Okay, I do hope so. Everybody was looking at Tinubu as a person who is very frugal, a person who will make sure that the money that is earned by the government goes to the coffers of the government. And we hope that we will get to that point where we'll be seeing the money that we're getting from all these agencies. We'd like to thank you, Mukhtar, for coming on the program and enlightening us on these issues that are a bit foggy to us. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure having you.
Thank you for having me always. Do have a pleasant day.
You too. We've been talking to Mukhtar Mohammed, an international finance and economic analyst. He's based here in Lagos, and we're looking at the fact that some revenue agencies are not remitting money to the coffers, or at least we're not seeing money from these agencies of government that is supposed to make money for us. But that's how we will wrap up on the show this morning. We'd like to thank you for being a wonderful audience, and on behalf of the entire Breakfast family on Plus TV, my name is Nyamgul Agaji. Let's do it again tomorrow.
You're in a queue, for example, and you go to some places or some countries, but then you find some people that they just don't have the time, and everybody is in a hurry, and they jump to the front stylishly and feel they will get away with it. Sometimes some people just don't want trouble, and they just leave you with your, your actions. But then you will find in some places where people don't like it, they don't condone it, and they will call you out. Excuse me, the queue is at the back. We need to see more of that nowadays.
You've probably experienced a scenario like this. You're waiting in line for a service or to buy something, and someone who sees the long queue comes along and goes straight to the front of the line, completely disregarding everyone standing. In most cases, some people on the queue will speak up, but some will look on with utter disbelief. With teeming population, it is almost inevitable not to experience queuing. If you're not queuing at the bus station, you're queuing at the ATM or in the bank, or to get tickets to your favorite show. Queuing is a way to create orderliness and to ensure that there is some fairness. But like clockwork, there will always be the impatient ones, or the ones who feel too smart that they find a way to jump the queue. Queues are not created to simply waste time, but to ensure orderliness, because the chaos that happens without the orderliness leaves a lot of people bitter, angry, and helpless. The reason why queuing is challenging for us can be associated with the way we see it. Darden Professor Elliot N. Weiss and colleagues grow to make purchases, to get services, or to have experiences. But how they view the wait, what the rules are, and what they expect vary widely. Some cultures see needing to wait as almost always negative, while in other societies, seeing there is a line can signal there's something worth waiting for.
In an environment where they don't call it out and they allow people to jump the queue, and jumping the queue becomes normal and the norm, they won't say anything wrong with it. They will continue to do it because they can't see the bad in it. You get to an environment where, hey, it's not possible for you to ever think of jumping the queue because people say, get back. Excuse me, we've been here before you, join the queue. There and then you notice that you've done something wrong. It conditions your mindset. I can't jump the queue in this environment. It's not acceptable. And so you begin to readjust yourself. It's a culture change.
Instead of seeing queues as a waste of time, see it as a way to better manage time. It is also a way to ensure fairness and equity. The next time you feel the urge to jump a queue, don't. Instead, remember some of these guidelines. Make up your mind if you will join the queue or not. Time is before you join the queue. Some of you know. Never say you were behind someone in a queue. Wait for someone to be behind you before you leave the queue if you must. Respect other people's space while on the queue. Watch your conversation on the phone, keep it confidential. Watch your personal belongings. Try not to leave shopping bags on the floor. Acknowledge the number of bags you're carrying. If you forgot something, unless it is close by, you will run the risk of losing your place once you leave the queue. Exercise huge amounts of patience, even when the queue appears endless. If you're holding a place for someone, explain to others around you to avoid conflict. Sometimes, the queue may be a telephone inquiry. You may have the option of calling back or leaving a message to be called back. If someone appears like they're jumping the queue, politely correct them without getting into a squabble. Always wait your turn if the queue is automated. Sometimes you may need to wait to be beckoned, served, or for the green light before proceeding. Follow the rules and move orderly.
Hello and welcome. My name is Nyamgul Agaji. This is a news brief. The Council of State, comprising former presidents and heads of state, the President of the Senate and Speaker of the House of Representatives, serving and retired Chief Justice of Nigeria, CJN, as well as state governors on Tuesday passed a vote of confidence on President Bola Tinubu's administration. This is as the Council of State has described the recent hunger and bad governance protest as an insurrection and a movement aimed at regime change. The former leaders that passed the confidence vote on President Tinubu included Generals Yakubu Gowon, Muhammadu Buhari, and Abdul Salami Abubakar, as well as former President Goodluck Jonathan. Buhari and Jonathan attended the meeting physically, while Generals Gowon and Abubakar joined virtually. However, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo and General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida IBB were absent, and there was no reason given for their absence. Briefing State House correspondents after the meeting, the Governor of Kwara State and Chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum, NGF, Abdulrahman Abdulrazak, said the Council unanimously passed a vote of confidence on Tinubu on the way he has governed the country.
And we indeed had a very robust Tinubu GC bills of the meeting.
Tinubu's signing of the bill, no agency that
public hearing to